Hear Me See Me podcast is sponsored by Zenoti, the #1 cloud software for salons and spas. Because when people feel good, they find their greatness. I am Stuart Roberts, and I'm really excited to introduce my new podcast, Hear Me See Me. It's just over 5 years ago. I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people. Some of the people that work in some of these places, many of them are volunteers, but some of them it is their job. I'd had this idea after being inspired by a guy in America I'd seen cutting hair on the streets and seeing the difference it made to the guys who were there. This is more than a job, this is a calling. Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me See Me podcast, and today I've got a wonderful young lady as my guest, and I didn't realise at first when she made contact and wanted to join us at Haircuts for Homeless that I did know her mum that I'd met in years ago, and I did know she come from a very prestigious hairdressing family, and she's made her own way in her own right. So today I'd love to welcome the wonderful Jordanna Cobella. Hello.
Hi Stuart, thank you for a lovely introduction.
I'm good at intros.
You are.
The rest is rubbish, but the intros are always quite on point.
As long as you can open it and close it well, and everything in between is better.
So, as I said, you come from a big sort of dynasty of hairdressing. What was your first thoughts of going into the industry?
Well, I always saw my mum and dad as workaholics, and I did really look up to them for that because, they helped us out so much with like schools, and I don't know, the upbringing was amazing. But I also did miss them a lot because they weren't around, and my mum missed a lot of the first words and the first steps and that kind of thing. She was flying all over the world, and so it wasn't necessarily glorified in our household, so I was never encouraged to go into hairdressing. But I guess I loved the social aspect of it. But I wasn't one of those people that actually sort of, was born with hairdressing scissors in their hands, like a lot of people kind of are, and they hear those stories about being 3 years old cutting hair. That was not me. And I was told, go and get, as much education as you can. So I went to university and I did a law degree, and I loved it. I really enjoyed studying it, but it was a different story practicing it. So I went and joined the police because that was, to do with the law, and I didn't want to be a lawyer. So I was with the police for a year. I was doing some work with them and undercover work as well, because I was the world's smallest police officer. Coming at 5'0", had to get my boots specially made. It was hilarious. But yeah, so I loved policing. But while I was doing that, it was mainly night shift. So I was doing that at Earls Court police station, and I thought, well, the business is only around the corner and I want to learn hairdressing because I just always wanted to know if I was good at it. So I started learning hairdressing while I was policing, and I was doing that in the day, and I was spending time in our Kensington salon, but also in our Selfridges salon. And I loved it. It didn't come naturally, but I loved the social aspect. I loved the feel-good factor, like providing a service to people. And I saw loads of comparisons between police work and hairdressing, which is a bit weird when you think about it. But there were loads of kind of, skills that were transferable across both industries. And I think those skills were just talking to people. And I never looked at the clock, whether I was hairdressing or policing. I never looked at my watch and thought, God, I want to go home now. And so I carried on doing both. And then it got a bit much. And then I left the police and went into full-time hairdressing. And I haven't looked back.
I know you haven't looked back, but have you ever wondered what might have happened if you'd have stayed with it?
Yeah, I do. I have had an amazing sergeant who's become a chief inspector now, and he said to me on maybe the third shift when he started to get to know me, because you get to know people really well when you spend 12 hours on a night shift with them, and he said to me, I think you would be amazing for the police force, and I think you would climb your way up the ranks quite quickly, and I think he was kind of referring to my empathy skills and just being with people, because obviously being so small, I had a tendency to calm down a lot of situations. People would either laugh or just stop fighting, and so he really liked the energy that I had with people, and I guess I would have, when you're good at something, you put your all into it, don't you? So I would have definitely stayed in the police if I didn't have a secondary passion, which then became my primary one. And yeah, often now I look back and think maybe I'd be a sergeant by now, or that was 8 years ago. Yeah, maybe I'd be running a team, or I don't know, but it's always got a soft spot in my heart, really. And I do keep in contact with some of my colleagues, my ex-colleagues. Some of them still come to me for a haircut as well, and they were the first people that let me do the botchest job of the haircut on their hair, cut all their moles off behind their ears. But yeah, it was a good experience.
Do you ever watch Line of Duty and get jealous?
No, because real life policing is not like that at all.
It's lots of boredom, I suppose, on a night.
Yeah, there's a lot of just talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what you said, because I've seen that a few times in when it's been a bit volatile in some of the centres I've been to, and you put someone like yourself. The Whitechapel Mission, where I go to, is a wonderful place, and it's full of a great happy energy, but occasionally it does go off, and straight away either Sue, who runs it, or Sonia from the office comes running out, and then enough, and because a woman comes out, it tends to diffuse it compared to if I jump in or someone, it would aggravate it, and I think there's a calming influence of that's my excuse for letting the women go in and sort the trouble out. That's my excuse.
Yeah, I remember being on shift once, and I think they got a complaint through saying, "Why have you sent me the smallest, newest police officer to a scene that was like a domestic violence scene?" And I was the support officer for someone who was already there. She needed backup. And we got back to the station, and we were writing up our notes, and she put in a complaint. And I felt really, really bad. But then I also thought, the skills of a police officer is not necessarily about your physical ability as much as they put you through a grueling process for it. The skills are just people skills and understanding and empathy and practicing, I don't know, just put yourself inside a situation and actually reserving judgment. I know they get a lot of stick, and particularly in the last year, but I met some incredible people who taught me, how to relate to people and understand people and reserve judgment, because no one's guilty unless they're, proven straight away. And a lot of the time they're not. But also people do make bad choices, or people fall into bad, scenarios, and it's not necessarily always a choice. And, I think that's so important to remember, and something I really saw in the police, my police duties, because you meet them at the station, and by the time someone's calmed down or, sobered up, they're actually great people. They may have made a bad decision or fallen into bad circumstances. So I think it's really important to remember that, and practice your empathy levels as far as you can.
It did show through when you recently volunteered with us for the first time, and straight away you could tell that I didn't know that background about you, but you fitted in straight away because you use those skills that you've naturally got. And I think a lot of people have said, in the hairdressing industry, it's underestimated the great people skills we've got as an industry.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think I think that's one of the things I really wanted to kind of bottle up and talk about, or bottle up and sell, because it's something that's so underspoken about. You know, hairdressing, we provide a service for great hair and making people look good, but actually 50%, even more, 50 or 60% of the service is like connecting with people and emotionally reading them and being emotionally intelligent and making them feel comfortable, because you can forget how someone makes you look, but you'll never forget how someone makes you feel. And I saw this when I was learning hairdressing. I saw this in a couple of people at the salon, and some of these people were Edward Scissorhands. You know, those type of hairdressers that are just like, there is no structure to anything they do. It's just all visual, and it's like it's a dance and a performance. But they had clients queuing up out the door. They had, you know, waiting lists for years on end, and I just thought, how are they doing? How have they done that? And then when I saw that hairdresser may have left the salon and you know, moved on somewhere else, none of those clients would stay. And I wanted to always know where that loyalty lies, and like how has he made that client or all those clients feel like no one else can touch their hair because it's a one length cut or it's just a number 2 on the sides. Like, how has he done that? And then the more I looked into it, I realised it's something you're not taught in the hairdressing MVQ stage, or not really taught in salon. It's something you either pick up and you fine tune, or something that you may already naturally have. And so I started to try and fine tune the people skills within me and learn off people who did have big waiting lists, and learn off people who weren't necessarily technical hairdressers, but they were so good at like connecting with the client instantaneously and appealing to mass market, because more often than not, people always preach about, you know, your vibe attracts your tribe, and my kind of clients are my kind of personality. But we're living in a world where actually you kind of have to appeal to everyone. You can't just appeal to one client who's like you and likes talking about, you know, an intimate story, or like, you know, what happened on the weekend and how drunk you got. You have to appeal to the clients who are also really shy and don't want to speak, or the clients who are an introvert and may open up on visit number 12. And so I tried to like become a chameleon in the salon, and throughout the years of me hairdressing, I feel like I've just learned so much from just watching other hairdressers and how they are. And I love going to other salons and just sitting there for the day and like soaking it all in, because for me, that excites me just as much as a beautiful technical Sassoon haircut.
I've often, because my son's a hairdresser and he works for Taylor in London, and often when I've met him to go to lunch or something, I've often got there beforehand, and I love sitting in the reception, and I love, you know, like, and you can see, and you look and you watch what people's work, and it's enough to be a fly on the wall on the other side of it, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, I feel it's quite an intimate thing, isn't it, cutting someone's hair? Because, I mean, especially after lockdown, I remember I had a client after lockdown number 1 where she came in and she was like, I haven't been touched by anyone for like 4 months. And I was like, oh, I didn't realise you lived on your own. She's like, yeah. And I was like, well, I'm wearing gloves and I've got my visor and all that. And she's like, no, it feels quite nice, like to have my head shampooed, because I've missed the human touch. And I was like, oh gosh, you really forget, you know, how intimate that experience is. And I think, you know, that's why we share so much with our clients and they share so much with us. And I think it's such a big part of the role that I've written a course for Wella actually called the Mindful Hairdresser. And that's just my take on the emotional side of things and the connection and the reason why our job could never be taken over by robots or technology or computers, because that for me is just, it's just so exciting and so underspoken. And I think we should shout about what we do. And if we can, if there's any way of improving everyday life as a hairdresser and improving the client's experience by analysing how we do it, or fine-tuning how we do it, because we already do it, a lot of us, then why not? Because it's something that we take for granted, isn't it?
I think it's very interesting what you say, because there's a lot of time it's said, isn't it, that people can they're a natural. So, but what you're doing, and I love the title of that course, the Mindful Hairdresser. That's fantastic. And the fact of coaches in sport, they break down, like a picture, or they'll break down every aspect of that. They break it right down into the minuscule bits, and that's really like taking. You can't rely on everything being natural. As a teacher, when I'm 40 years in hairdressing, and I've come across I've had so many people come and work for me, and going back earlier, you said about the 50-50 thing, and it's true that they'd come along and they'd be a fantastic hairdresser with great flair, but they didn't have that spark with people. Or they may be the other way and be a fantastic people person and didn't quite have the practical skills or the interest in the. But when you got someone who come along and had that piece of both that you could develop, they were the superstars always.
Absolutely, and I think it's funny how people kind of fit into one or the other, because I was seeing it in my salon when I was learning, that it was more like the kind of really eccentric people that were just putting on a bit of a performance, and you were looking at their technical work thinking, oh my god, like that's painful to watch, but because I loved it. And then I was seeing like aspiring hairdressers climbing through the ranks, putting the hours in, putting the blood, sweat and tears in, so passionate, go on the floor eventually after like 3 years, and they just weren't successful in terms of building up clientele. And it was a shame to see, because I was like, they've been taught everything, but actually they've been taught everything technically, just not kind of emotionally or how to connect. And then that was why, because it was just for them, like they were so focused on that technical haircut or technical colour that you forget actually this is about human connection and you need to bond. And it's similar to what you do, Stuart, with the homeless. How many? 40,000 you said you've served. That's just amazing. And as much as 40,000 of them have walked away with a great haircut that lasts, let's say, 2 months, I think what they've walked away that lasts forever with is a feeling of someone paying them attention and connecting with someone one-on-one, regardless of what's going on in the background, and having someone, tell a story or listen to some of their background information and treat them like a client. I think that's amazing.
I think that's the important, but that's what we strive to do. And from an early point was the fact of making it as near to a salon experience as possible. And in some of the chaotic environments we work in, it isn't that easy. However, there are aspects you can always do. And I think going back to salon life, I always maintained that one of the most crucial points of a salon experience is the consultation. I think it's absolutely paramount in any salon. And it goes across to us. And it's the initial few I've been able to connect with someone in seconds, and someone's walked through my salon door, and in seconds and there's a little click in my head, and I think I've got them, and not in a controlling way. I just start. I've connected, and that's the same in that, and it's all about the consultation.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember my mum saying when I was learning at the time, she was like, there's loads and loads and loads of great hairdressers out there, but there's not an unlimited amount of excellent hairdressers who have got both that creative eye and that emotional connection, kind of it working in synergy perfectly to give the best service. And so if you're lacking in one, what do we do when we're not the best at precision cutting? We go on a course. But what do you do when you're not the best at connecting or speaking or I don't know, making people feel comfortable? Nothing. But I think now we need to really focus on that. And lockdown has taught us how important clients we are to clients, and how appreciated we are And I think if we didn't speak to them and it was just a service of technical skill, then we wouldn't have had that kind of reaction to our industry being so missed.
Oh, of course. But, it was the subject of memes of like the whole world was talking about missing a hairdresser, weren't they?
Yeah, true. Either that or having too much hair, and not enough bikini body ready.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe it that people. And everyone's sort of really upset. I was at home going, yes, they miss us. They finally miss us. They finally appreciate what we do.
Yeah.
Like anything in life, it soon goes back to normal.
It does. It really does. When lockdown number 2 came, I was like, back in the game. I've got the power guides. I'm telling you when you're coming.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm telling you can't be late.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? It's that finally we're like dentists. Because I even once, years ago, I had a dentist's wife was always late.
Was she?
Yeah. And in the end, I said, look, I'm really sorry. I don't want to offend you, but I can't cut your hair anymore because you're always late. And it made me laugh. Dentists don't have it, do they? Like,
no. I remember turning up 10 minutes late for one, and she was just like, oh, you've missed your appointment. I was like, oh, I thought it was a half an hour appointment. And she's like, yeah, it is, but what can I do in 20 minutes?
Yeah.
And I was really taken aback. I was like, oh, God, I'm so sorry. And I remember from that day onwards, I was like, I cannot ever be late for a dentist. Because once they turn you away once, that is it, isn't it? Whereas as hairdressers, we're like, 15 minutes? Fantastic. You come on through for your full set of highlights.
I mean, we're victims of our, we all complain that we're not taken seriously. But as an industry, we must start taking ourselves seriously. I see lots of on different groups about saying, "Oh, I've got this client, and I don't know, I don't know how to say to her that she keeps not turning up." Well, what you've got to say is, "Don't come back," because the thing is you've got to value your own time, and it's a big problem in the industry with undercharging. A big problem with even being afraid to charge for missed appointments. How can you expect other people to take you seriously if you don't take yourself seriously?
Yeah, it's true. And it would, I think, you know what, the more we can unite as business owners, hairdressers, self-employed, mobile hairdressers, if we can all kind of unite in some way and just set like the very, very minimum level of pricing or the very maximum, whatever it is, and come together and say, right, what should we all make sure that we're charging our clients cancellation fee-wise? Because once we can do that, you kind of strengthen the industry from the bottom, don't you? But when some people are doing it, some people aren't, some people are doing £10 haircuts, some people, aren't charging cancellation fees, then I think that's what kind of makes it a little bit messy, because you feel like, should I, shouldn't I? And I just think it's one of those things where we kind of lack confidence in that respect. But I guess I have seen quite a lot of change actually from lockdown as well. A lot of clients were taking deposits. A lot of people on my Instagram were talking about taking deposits, and they've never done that before. So I think it's one of those work in progresses. When it kind of becomes a trend, everyone jumps on board, don't they?
I think it's crucial. I think people, our time is so valuable, and people are thieves. They're thieves of time. This is not just clients. This is human beings. They wouldn't come up and put their hand in your purse and take £10 out, but they'll just take that half an hour away from you. And we're sort of happy to give it. I learned a long time ago that the power of no. And it's a polite no. But the times I was people pleasing all the time. So I'll do that. I'll do this. I'll do that. And I'm still guilty of it to a degree. But the thing is give yourself time to say, I'll see what I can do, or I'll work. Let me get back to you, because then sometimes if you don't want to become resentful of that, and it's the same thing with us as an industry. It's like, the person's always late, but we moan in the staff room, but we don't actually say anything reasonable to them.
It's true. I think that's got a lot to do with the fact that hairdressing is about people pleasing, isn't it? So once you fall into the profession, you're a bit like, oh, the client's always right. Whether she's turned up late, whether she's hit me, you just take it all, don't you? And do you know what? I still haven't found my feet in being fair but firm at all with clients. I have as a manager, but I haven't with clients because I'm just like putty. Like I need to learn the power of no. Actually, on our last day, it was the busiest day of literally the year, and we did actually, I was with you for the first morning part, but we didn't stop till 11 p.m. My 8 p.m. client turned up at 8:35 for a 45-minute appointment. I hope she's not listening to this because I'm about to go in. And she got sat through, and I was like, I can't do it. And then my manager at the salon said to me, Jordanna, you told me to make as much money as we could before we closed the salon. And I was like, okay, thanks for that reminder. So I walked over to the client and I said, we've got 10 minutes left for your appointment. She goes, I know, I stupidly got a taxi here and blah, blah, blah. She gave me all the excuses. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And I did it. And I made my next client wait, which I felt really, really bad for. But in my head, I was like, do you know what? Now she's here. She's got gowns through. She's got a coffee. And I did it. But just stressed me out because then the last 3 hours I was running late and everyone else was left waiting. And I was like, I need to actually grow backbone and learn how to say no.
It's true. But you're not alone. I think the industry in general is like that. It worried me as well. I mean, look, I'm not a guru. I would, if I was my own critic, I'd go, well, what do you know? Like you lost your salon 2 years ago. Actually, I found out this morning. My sister told me it's 2 years today that we closed the salon, which is it's flown. It's flown by. Yeah. So, but what I have got is a knowledge of what I've done right and what I've done wrong over the years. And I did used to see so many times as things got worse and worse on the high street, we became a victim of the Groupon culture as an industry. So we went from being a service with loyalty-driven clients to it became a commodity. So it became, as soon as we attached to the Groupon culture, it became a commodity. There was an offer, there was a deal, there was this, that, and the other, and it all just started to decline, and go into this sort of downward spiral. Where in the end, if you know anything about anyone who knows about the profitability of business, is that you cannot do an hour-long blow dry in a salon for 10 quid. No. And I used to see, and everyone blames mobiles and all these things, but when you see salons, like high street salons doing blow dries for a tenner and all these things, it's the beginning and the end, because it's zero profit in that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a shame because they must be in a really bad financial state in order to have to offer that. Like, that's desperate measures. And it just makes our industry weaker, doesn't it? But I think lockdown has made people, charge a bit more, because the ball was kind of in our court when we reopened, and we could charge what we wanted. We were charging £4 extra just for the PPE screens, and people were going, "How much are your screens?" And I was like, "Oh, very expensive," and just having a temperature gun and that kind of thing. And people might have made a few flying comments, but no one really actually resisted it. And it's when push comes to shove that you realise actually you do have a lot more power than you think when you're in a professional environment. And if you serve your clients well, at one point they're going to have to agree to all the price increases or any kind of protocols that you might put in place, and they'll respect you for it.
I think that's the ultimate thing. Is always it's value for money at any price. So you could be a very high price, high end salon. If you're giving good value, it works out, and people should expect to pay a bit more when for the outlay of PPE and things like that. I know as a charity how much we've had to lay out for, thousands and thousands on, all of the PPE and the guns and everything. So it does that up. So if you're going along, and there's a high percentage of every salon in this country that is either breaking even or less. And that's a scary thing. I think anything like this, there's a shift. So this is sort of cataclysmic event of the pandemic means that it's sink or swim time for a lot of people. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be that thing of the high end or the low end. I think if you're stuck in the middle end, that's the danger area.
Definitely, really. Yeah. I mean, when looking back at some of the measures that the government put in place, I think they were kind of really good for small businesses. But if you had a team of, like, let's say 8 or more, you were classed as a medium, so you didn't necessarily get as much support. And it's good that they supported the small businesses, but in London, with business rates, like, oh my gosh, you know, you couldn't really get a lot of help, and it was really hard. So I guess I've been swimming, as you said. I've got my armbands on. I've got my life jacket on. I've got the rescue team behind me.
Your dead weights around your ankles.
Yeah. I'm going to have to tread water for the next year. But you make it happen, don't you? You find a way. There's no way. I said to my team when we went back into lockdown 2 last week, there is no way anything is going to stop us from coming through this and being a stronger team next year and making more money than we've ever made before. Yes. And they were like, just looked at me blankly. I was like, we will get through it, but it's just going to be tough for like 8 months. And it will be, you can't lie. And we just got to get inventive, because there's opportunity in everything we do. Like even lockdown, there's opportunities for takeaways and delivery home colour products, or connecting with clients, or there's opportunity in everything. And I think since lockdown, it's kind of unleashed this fearlessness in me to just try something, because I spent 4 months wondering, I never did that. I never put cocktails on the menu. I never got an alcohol license. I never, got a DJ in on a Saturday, because I was always worried about what my team might think. There's always one person that's like, what the hell is she doing now? Or there's always one client that's like, all the decibels are a bit much for my ears. Do you know what I mean? So I was always worried about what people think. And since going back into after lockdown, you get that desperation of like, okay, I need to keep going with the evolution of this business, and I need to upgrade it. And you get this fearlessness that's just like, well, have a go, because you might not make it anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, you kind of just feel like, go for it, because it is sink or swim time, and anything might help. So that's why I've kind of gone for it, and just put loads of weird things in place that my team are like, what are you doing now? But yeah, I think it's good to just like sometimes let go of your fears and go for it. And I think lockdowns made kind of a lot of people reprioritize, or just try things that they never had the courage to do.
I think that's a great message. It's a great, I really love that. You remind me so much. This is always fits. Oh, you remind me of me. But like, you remind me of me at a younger age, and that sort of, not give a shit attitude of things. And I had this lucky balance. You met my sister last week. Yeah, so she was the counterbalance of me. So I would come in and go, and I used to do these. Like, I'd just come in one day and said, we're changing the name of the salon, Oh, when are we doing that then? Tomorrow. I've got the bloke coming to give us new signs. I'm doubling the prices. I went to a Charles Worthington course. This was years and years ago. And because he did coffee on trays, and I come back and I didn't gradually increase. And then, tomorrow prices are doubling. I was talking to the Fenchurch Street line, he's gone mad. He's charging twice as much. But, unless you do these things, you can, always remember things can be undone. Yeah. If you just go for it.
Yeah, and do you know what? Like, I think sometimes when you are the talk of the town, and even if it is like negative talk for the first 2 months, at least people are talking about you. Do you know what I mean? And I think yeah, I mean, if you're going to do something, just do it properly. Because what you said about doubling prices, I'm really bad with stuff like that. I'll probably do it really slowly, and then it kind of just annoys people because they slowly start realising, and I probably wouldn't put a notice out. I'd just do it and hope for the best. But sometimes if you're going to do something, just do it to your best ability. My dad always taught me that. When my first job was washing hair at Joe Hansford's salon, and I was also doing bar waitressing at a golf club, and I used to always complain about being in the kitchen because they used to make me do the worst jobs in the kitchen, like pot washing and stuff like that. And my dad always went, whatever you do in life, whether you're saving someone's life as a doctor or whether you're cleaning a toilet, if you do it to the best of your ability and do it properly, then you've got every reason to be proud about it. Whether you're getting paid, not getting paid, volunteering, or, whatever kind of level or status it is at, just do it properly. And that's what stayed with me.
I think you said early on, you mentioned about you brought something out in me then, because you said very at the beginning of this, you said about mum and dad, really, sort of workaholic driven. And so it's obvious that they've put that onto you, that work ethic. And I remember, like, when my salon opened years and years and years and years ago, it was like we opened. I think we was 9 a.m. till 10 p.m, and that was unheard of in that area. But it was right near a station. So then I opened up at 7 to get the people going onto the station, and and it got longer and longer. But I missed a lot. I say I've got 5 kids. I missed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And they look back, they take the mick and they do that. What was that Austin Powers film, and they start saying, Daddy wasn't there. Daddy didn't care.
No.
But there is big blanks, and I think that is a price. It's a big price to pay when you're, they said we're a nation of shopkeepers, and there's a massive personal investment in building up small businesses.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the hairdressing industry, I don't know if I'm going to make any enemies from saying this now.
Don't worry, no one listens to this anyway, it's fine.
Well, no, my number one listener will probably be my mum.
Yeah.
One download, well done.
No, Beverly.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I don't know if people are going to bite my head off for this, but I do think our industry is quite bad at promoting a bit of an unhealthy work ethic, in the sense of you get rewarded and you get more and more jobs the harder you work, for the lowest rate. For example, if I'm trying to get into the session world, the only way I could do that is to work for free and really bust my ass, and I'm about to do that now, and I've been doing it for a little bit. And even just like securing contracts with colour houses or manufacturers, I feel like everyone kind of promotes like the long hours and the long struggle and the climb and doing things for free. And I don't know how responsible we are as an industry to make sure that our younger generation of hairdressers coming through don't get burnt out. Because I met this amazing lady called Hayley, who's part of the Resilient Hairdresser group. And she suffered from burnout and had a bit of a breakdown and anxiety and mental health problems. And so she now runs courses for hairdressers who are on the tipping edge of that. And she goes into salons and educates about how to communicate with each other and support each other as a team, and how to avoid burnout, because it's physically demanding what we do every day, but it's also emotionally draining because you're listening to people's stories and you're more often than not maybe giving advice that's not just hair. And we forget that actually that takes a toll on its body, especially when you've got kids at home and you're working weekends and your partner's clocking off at 6 or 7, but you're doing all the late nights and you are missing out. And I think we need to maybe review that. I don't know how, but I'm starting to myself as a business owner review that and see how we can make this work for both business owners and hairdressers, because they deserve to be as profitable as possible, and they deserve to not look back, when they're doing a podcast and regret that they've not spent all the time with their kids. And don't get me wrong, sacrifice is needed for everything, for every form of success. But the level of sacrifice I sometimes question, because I'd want to be there a little bit more for my kids' upbringing. And I know it hurt my mum loads, and I think that's what drove their marriage apart, actually, because that was hard to see, and that absolutely broke me down. And that's one of the reasons why I joined hairdressing, because there's this tiny little glimmer of hope in the background that if I joined the industry, I could get trained by mum and dad separately, and then one day they might work together again and and call me a romantic, but together now. But they're only friends.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
I think it does all come down to balance, doesn't it? And there was that era of it was almost like that bragging rights. Yeah, I get up at 5. Well, I get up at 4, and and I do this and I do some. And it's stupid. Yeah, it's stupidity, because it only is going to end one way. You are going to miss out on important stuff in your life, and I haven't got the answers, but there is proven track records of countries that do it. So there's some of the Scandinavian countries that they've gone to like a 4-day week, and they've seen eventually that productivity has increased because people are more motivated. But fear stops all of that. I mean, my first thought is, people are just going to earn more money for doing less, but it's trying to break through that fear and making sure. But then you would need, for that to happen, you would need the strength to charge the right money, and you need the discipline to make sure the team did work really hard during those times, and then really enjoy that free time.
Yeah, and sharing the responsibility of getting clients through the door, because that shouldn't always fall on the stylist, and it shouldn't always fall on the salon owner. It's about collaborating. I think when two heads are always better than one, and when people come together, magic happens. And I love seeing like other industries, how they collaborate. There's so many industries that do it, like GHD do it with their breast cancer campaign with artists for their straighteners. The fashion industry do it, Moschino and H&M. But I really want to see the hairdressing industry do like more collaborations across industries, and also with other business owners. For example, if I'm an expert in colour and someone's an expert in cutting, we could do like skill swaps, or we could share staff. That would be wicked, because some staff just need to get out, don't they? Like it becomes your family, and after maybe 20 years of being in the same place, you might just want to change, but you don't want to make the leap and have your own salon. So maybe spend 2 days a week here and the other 3 or 4 somewhere else. And I'd love to see a little bit more of that in the industry. So that's one of the things I've kind of want to work towards.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Job swaps, and I think it's all about, as you say, the industry coming together. I think I always bang on. I'm a big fan of the British Beauty Council, everything they're trying to do to make us recognised as an industry, and like a lot of the bodies need to come together and work. There's this fear even with that this body doesn't want to talk to that body, and I've seen it a lot in charity over the 10 years that I've been doing it. I've actually been involved I'm just coming up to 15 years sober, so I've been involved in charity all that time, and I've seen early on, when I was in a lot of work with sobriety, different agencies wouldn't work together, and then now since the last 6 years I've been working with homeless people, different agencies don't even want to, they're almost like protective of their own environment. And every now and then you get a catalyst where it brings people together. And funny enough, Haircuts for Homeless has done that quite well, because I've worked with people that are in the slate, like human trafficking. I've worked with domestic violence. I've worked with ex-servicemen. And we've all gradually linked it together. And people, and as you say, people coming together is a wonderful thing, but a lot more gets done that way.
Yeah, and when I got in touch with you, I thought I've got to get in touch with Stuart, because it takes so much to bring people together from nothing. And although you had an amazing cause behind you, an amazing story, I just couldn't help but think, like, that you've put in so much blood, sweat and tears to bring people together, particularly hairdressers who can be a little bit like, we're not the best with change, are we? And we don't really like working outside our environment, because you feel quite exposed, don't you? Someone's watching you and they've never watched you cut hair before. And also, you just might feel a bit uncomfortable because you've never, provided a service for the homeless before. But you've managed to do that and reach so many people with ease and with a smile on your face. So well done, because that is not easy. And I tried to do something like that with my sister, and there were loads of people that did get involved and help out, but we were met with a lot of like no's and a lot of sort of backfires, I guess. And for whatever reason, it just didn't continue after 2 years. So I congratulate you, because I think it's the first of its kind in the country, and to have the press that you've got as well on such limited budgets. And I know there's still so many other manufacturers that could get involved, and I'm going to make it my duty to make sure that they do.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think it's incredible. So well done. And I think you must have the gift of the gab.
Oh, what? Yeah, I've talked myself out of a few things over the years. But yeah, I was going to say to you, because that leads on to the fact, like, I don't think we mentioned that you came last week. I think it's last week. It was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It was only last Thursday, wasn't it?
I know.
It's got a month already. What was your? How did you feel before you went? Because there's always this expectation of what it's going to be like, and then what was your experience of actually doing it that day?
I think it must have been about 3 years since I did the Cut for Care thing that my sister and I set up. And so, yeah, I felt a bit like it was weird not knowing, how many people we were doing, and not having met you before in person. But then as soon as I got there, I was like, it just takes you back to like the rawness of pure hairdressing, doesn't it? Which is just a service and looking at someone in the eye, and you just get you just fall in, it falls into place. And one of the things I didn't do is talk about their backgrounds, because for whatever reason we didn't get onto that, and we were just talking about, I don't know, the number of the clipper guard that they want, and then one guy was talking about his nose hairs, and another guy was talking about the fact that it was going a little bit bald on the left hand side. So we didn't necessarily like exchange stories. It was more just like kind of surface level chat, which was equally just as nice, because I guess it gives you a momentary relief from like that sadness that comes with, thinking, I wonder how you've got here, and I wonder if I'll see you again, and I wonder if you like my haircut. It kind of takes it away, doesn't it? Because you're just talking about mundane stuff. So that was really, really nice, actually, because I was probably preparing myself for a bit more of a heavy conversation. And it was nice because it reminds you, like, yeah, it is a client, and this is pure hairdressing in its purest form.
And you saw that we had a couple of regulars there as well. I know Ravi came in right at the end, didn't he? The chief.
Yeah, that was so sweet, actually. I think what you were talking about connecting earlier, like when you can see you can sometimes just see this invisible like connection, can't you? And when you were taking you back to when you cut that guy's hair from literally my length, like just below the shoulders, so like a one all over. And even though you were a bit hesitant because he has amazing hair, like amazing white, glorious locks, and then you literally chopped it all off, but he looked like a different man. And when he walked out, he just embraced this like completely new character, didn't he? Yeah. I just felt like he had like a different swag about him.
Had a bit of swag, yeah.
He did, yeah. And when we left in the car park, he still had this big grin on his face. And then when you had that regular as well, and you said that, you know, you'd seen him for like, what, 7 years, was it?
6 years, yeah, since we started, yeah.
That's amazing. And that's, I guess, bringing a bit of structure or like routine into someone's life, and knowing that, you know, you're going to be cutting their hair next, or knowing that you'll be the next person to say, how are you? And I just thought that, yeah, that for those reasons, I need to get involved as a regular, and that's why I got in contact with you. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. You know, it was really nice to have you aboard, and I could tell that you'd done that before, because you just sort of you moved into it seamlessly, and then we had the obligatory coffee after. And it's great, isn't it? Just that little after. I love the after club. You know, the little, you know, breakdown of it. There's some lovely people, weren't there, as well? Because Jo was a nice girl as well, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's really nice, really nice.
And Rachel was our teacher. Now you'll relate to that because you're in education, and Rachel is teaching now. I mean, I'd love you to come down one day and have a day with us at the jet training, and meet Lee, who's our newest girl, and see what we're trying to do. Because I still think it's proved to be a lot more difficult than I imagined it would be. But I still think that colleges around the country, you know, could all take one person. Anyone who's previous homeless, who's got some background in hairdressing, that maybe they started and then lost their opportunity, that we can then get them. It's a practical way to get them back on their feet.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd be up for that completely. I love teaching.
Yeah. So I'm great at getting people to work for free. I'm a big thing that people should never work for free, and I've just realised that I'm the biggest protagonist of that. I'm forever getting people to give me and I talk about people stealing time, and I'm like the big time thief.
I'm going to turn it around on its head though, because if you can get something out of it, it's not for free, is it? And I think with all these things that, you know, we do, and the things that we prioritise, it does bring us something, even if it is volunteer, and it brings you like, I don't know what it is, I don't know what the word is. It brings you a sense of, I guess it's human connection or joy, or it makes you feel good, and probably doing more for you than it is for the person whose hair you're cutting. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know. I feel like if it brings you something, it's not for free.
It brings me serenity, because as a you know, an alcoholic, and I don't bang on. I try not. I probably do bang on, but I try not to. But part of our thing is, you know, God grant me serenity, and serenity just means I just want a balanced life. I've had a chaotic life, and I want it to be nice and balanced now. And when I do that work, as you saw and you did, you come out and it takes away. The chaos disappears, and you've just got a nice, straightforward. It gives you gratitude. The most important thing in life is gratitude, and you know, the basic reward of doing it is so much more than any other exchange you get in life, I think.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's the power of the power of connecting, I guess, because we do get sort of bogged down by, you know, figures and facts and information and education, and everyone's trying to perfect their skills and you know, even make your highlights quicker or whatever it is. But actually, you're right, it just takes away everything, just calms, doesn't it? Like a really, really calm lake of water, as soon as you do something that actually touches your heart rather than your business mind.
Well, it's been so lovely talking to you. I think it's really weird, isn't it? Because you just we've only met each other once. I feel like I know you so well. And I just want to say that your mum and dad, they must be very proud, because they've created a wonderful young woman. And
thank you.
I'm pleased to know you, and I'm sure that we can do a lot more good together. So thanks for giving me your time today, and I will definitely see you very soon.
Thank you so much for all the wonderful things you do as well, and I'm looking forward to the future.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Just over 5 years ago, I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people, some of the people that work in some of these places. Many of them are volunteers, but some of them, it is their job. This is more than a job, this is a calling.